welcome to the Saturday Morning Men's Cafe. We're going to ask you to pretend that you have traveled all the way to Houston and have come into this room with 34 other people. I'd like to introduce our speaker, Luisi Bautista has been a part of the Houston community for many years. He has spoken at our annual fall gathering multiple times. We've had the fall gathering for 16 years now. He was instrumental in helping start the Men's Cafe, was kind of the lead speaker. It's his attraction that really was able to get the cafe going, and he's certainly part of the success.
Okay, I would like to start out with a short blessing, and in order to bring us all together as brothers and sisters. So grandmother, grandfather, we are here before you. Bless us, open our hearts so that we may be able to hear your voice. Speak to us and give us the words to say in the moment. Allow us to be with you for this time within the kiva of our being, to maintain the integrity of our spirit for all who are here and all those who are not here. We are all connected. We are all one. We are all here with you. Bless us, grandmother. Bless us, grandfather. Eata, aho.
Aho.
Well, my name is Luisi Bautista. Medicine Dog is my initiated name, given to me by Jimmy Eagle Feather. And my father was full-blooded Yaqui, and my mother was Mexican, so I'm a Yaqui Mexican. And Jimmy Eagle Feather said, if you're going to hang out with those white people, you need to have an Indian name. And so he gave me the name of Medicine Dog. And I've had a lot of wonderful teachers over the years, a lot of wonderful trainers. I had a Japanese master for 12 years. I had a woman shaman who instructed me in her view of the world, and which is my view, in that I live in two worlds. This world here we call the world of the solids. And then there's the invisible world, which is the world we can't see, but it's consciousness, it's the quantum field, pure potentiality, whatever title or name you want to put on that. I live in both of those. I'm still a human being, as we all are, and I have the same struggles and challenges as everyone else does, except I have a skill set which enables me to navigate through that fairly seamlessly. And having said that, I'll probably have an issue this afternoon that I'll have a real problem with. And so that's part of my background. I'm here to serve. I had an epiphany in 1996. And I dedicated my life to service. And I also took a vow of poverty. And so my life is to be here for other people as best I can. And since 2011, I travel to Houston every month. Houston is my community. Since the pandemic, I have not been there at all since March of this year, well, February of this year. And so I'm here today to talk about the power of adaptability. And everything I'm talking about is everything that I do in my own personal life. I'm a teacher, but I'm also a practitioner in that I practice everything that that I teach. And so if we could get started with the PowerPoint, and then I can take it from there. In fact, this is the first presentation I've ever given using a PowerPoint. I think it's fabulous. I should have done this years ago. So here we go. So it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. This is a quote from Charles Darwin. It is so true. We have to survive. That's the bottom line. And to do that, we have to be adaptable. Let me just move this screen here. Change is natural and constant. The problem is that we are not mentally prepared for change when it occurs. I don't think any of us were prepared mentally for the pandemic to come. It certainly was a surprise to me. And initially when it happened, I realized that something was happening and it was not going to go away for a while. And I immediately went into grieving the loss of what was my life, and the uncertainty of what the future was going to hold. And I realized that I was going to have to be adaptable in ways that I haven't been before. I was going to have to certainly step up in my skill set in order to survive in a good way and in a natural way. And we're still, you know, I'm still doing that today, and we all are learning as we go here. Okay, we're not prepared because of fixed set patterns, which are in place to ensure order and predictability. We all want order and predictability. When we go to our favorite restaurant and order our, you know, favorite meal, we want it to taste just as good as the previous meal did. And but it's these fixed patterns which are a hindrance to being really adaptable. So when change happens to what we call our normal life or routines, we are forced to adapt. And when we're forced to adapt, then that means that we have to step out of our comfort zone, whatever that is, and move to a new level. And in my practice, I see that most people really don't change until they're forced to change. And that usually comes about by you know, a divorce, or maybe there's a death in the family, something profound or deep, or, you know, maybe that person has a spiritual revelation. But whatever the case, change has to happen. And the only way we can do that is by adapting. And those fixed set patterns of living that we had in the past are now going to be different in the future. We don't know what that looks like. We have to live with the uncertainty. Or as my Japanese master used to tell me, we live with confidence in the unknown. Adaptability is the simple secret of survival. Jessica Hegdom. Well, that is so true. And often the things that are most simple are the ones that are most complicated. It takes a while to get simple. And children are simple. Adults are not so simple. We've you know, had a lot of experiences. We've gone through, you know, different layers and different things in our life. We grew up. And sometimes when we grow up, we lose the simplicity and innocence that we had as a child. There's nothing wrong with that because we can gain that back when we become older in life, which is what everyone here is. We're all elders or crones. And so we're at the time of life when simplicity can enter into our life in a very productive way. Now, these are the 4 steps of adaptability which I utilize in my daily life. And the first one is to stay calm and confident with conscious breathing. And you know, I have clients when I bring up breathing, they get really indignant or resistant. And they say, well, what do you mean I am breathing? I said, I'm not talking about that kind of breathing. I'm talking about being intentional. And the reality is that when we come and we're born into this planet, the first thing we do is we take a breath. And then when we leave and we die and pass on to the next level, we take our last breath. In between then, for most folks, they really aren't conscious of their breathing. I know I wasn't for many, many years. And, um, and I've come to see now that our breath is similar to a software program that we get when we buy a new computer. And this software program is essential to our aliveness and our ability to stay connected and present. And what I've discovered with conscious breathing, especially breathing from the lower belly, and when you breathe from the lower belly, you can be able to create the container for slowing down the thoughts in your mind that cross across across your the mind's eye. With lower belly breathing, you activate what's called the vagus nerve, and this vagus nerve does some amazing things. But the main thing it does is that it'll calm you down. And during this time of crisis and uncertainty and change, it's what I call staying calm while you're losing altitude, because that's what it feels like at time. It feels like the plane is just going, and I don't have control, and I don't know who the pilot is, and I would like to, have a sense of managing my nervousness, uncertainty, or insecurity. And that's where breathing comes in. Breathing with intention allows you to be able to have a sense of control over your state of being in the present moment. And with conscious breathing, which is highly intentional, you can create that state of calm. The rule is intentions equals results. We have all these thoughts in our mind and we form them into an intention. That intention will create things, whatever that intention is, because we're highly intentional in everything we do. If you're driving a car, there's an intention to drive and not hit anybody and not harm yourself in any way. When we go out to throw the garbage out, we're intentional in doing that. When we're sitting in the bathroom, there are all these moments we are dealing with intention. And what I realize is to be able to use intention and put that into my breathing and put that into my breath. And so I've been practicing this for many years. And so for me, it's just automatic. But once again, this all goes to the lower belly. Now, this was taught to me by the shaman woman that I study with here in Tucson, who was a fairly mysterious person, and she was very hard on me. She didn't give me any slack. She treated me like a child. And when I first started studying with her in the late 70s, she just was real clear. She said, well, you don't know how to breathe. And I became like one of my clients and I got indignant. And but she was right. And so I studied with her for a few months, and basically she threw me out. She said, you're not ready, go home. And that was it. She slammed the door. I mean, literally, when I went to see her, she just said, you're not ready. And she just slammed the door, and that was it. So years later, I ran into a problem. I ran into a legal problem. And I really knew that I needed to go see her again because I needed some help. And so when I did, when she opened the door, she looked at me and all she said was, okay, you're ready. And so then that was it. I went in and that's when I really learned how to breathe. And she taught me that there is a PowerPoint If you drew a line from your belly button to the top of your pubic bone, right in the middle of that line is this PowerPoint. She called it a sedivate, but it's also known as the Tantien, the key point, the chi point, the prana point, the orgone point. There's a number of different names for it from different cultures, but they're all talking about the same thing. Now, in the shaman's way of doing it, this point from your body is the invisible umbilical cord to the universe. This is how you stay connected to the invisible world, from this world, the world of the solids. And she taught me to always have my attention in my lower belly. Now, initially, this was very difficult. I didn't feel very calm, and I knew she was telling me the truth, but I really didn't quite get it. She told me to put my hand on my lower belly and just keep it there at all times as a reminder of where to breathe. And then eventually, from having my hand on the belly and my belly breathing into my hand and my hand feeling the up and down motion of the belly, I started to understand the energetic connection that she was talking about and the ability to maintain a certain set of calmness that was always present, and it never left, and it is still here today. So when I speak about conscious breathing, I am speaking specifically about the lower belly, because when you breathe from the lower belly, you have less thoughts in your mind. When you breathe from the upper part, when you breathe from your chest, you're going to have a lot of thoughts in your mind, and you'll be prone to anxiety. And anyone who's having an anxiety attack or a panic attack is not breathing into their belly. They're breathing into the upper part. And then with the amount of thoughts, with the rapid amount of thoughts that are going through their mind, it just accelerates the anxiety. And that's why everybody says, well, just take a breath, or blow into a bag, something like that. But it always goes back to breathing. It all returns to breathing. Everything returns to the breath. So conscious breathing is something that I use on a daily basis in order to remain calm. And when you are calm, you can assess the situation that's in front of you. So here's an example. I was going to fly out to Houston in March. And I woke up that morning, I was doing my breathing exercise, and I immediately knew that, no, I can't do that. So I canceled the flight. And then I decided, okay, well, I'm going to drive to Houston. So I call the mechanic up that day. I take my car in, I get a couple new tires. I have work done on the car. And a few days later, I've got the car all packed at 5:30 in the morning. I walk out to my car and I look at it. And as I'm looking at my car, I'm focused on my lower belly. And my intuition tells me, don't go. And so I turned around and made another cup of coffee, and I didn't go to Houston, and I've been home ever since. What happens when you breathe consistently into the lower belly is that you access your intuition. When you access your intuition, which is never wrong, that's that little voice inside that tells us, no, you shouldn't do that. Because if you do, something is probably going to happen, and that's true. Something always happens. I know I have overridden my intuition many times in my life, and it has never worked out. I have clients where I'll ask the wife, well, when did you know the marriage was over? Well, I knew years ago, but I didn't want to listen to that. I needed the money, or the sex was good, or there was always some kind of reason to stay in a relationship which wasn't harmonious. And men have told me the same thing. The fact is that we have this intuition, I feel it's the voice of the spirit inside telling me what to do. And that's why the breathing aspect of how I live and what I teach is so important, because you don't have to know what to do. All you have to do is be quiet and breathe consciously with intention, and you'll automatically know what to do. Now, this is what I use in my practice. When I work with people, I have no idea what to tell them. I really don't. I'm clueless. I'm a simpleton. But what I do is I'm intentionally breathing into my belly, listening to my belly, and listening to my client's belly. Once I do that, then they tell me what to tell them. This is just another form, another way for the intuitive process to come up into your mind and give you the guidance that's needed. Now, this isn't anything that you learn overnight, requires consistent practice, but certainly if you do it for 6 months to a year, you can develop the skill to, a very high level once you create the neural pathways and the neural clusters in your brain that are connected to developing a new skill, because that's what I'm talking about. Breathing is part of your skill set. Number 2, change your attitude by redefining your motivation. Changing the attitude. The attitude is so important. And I'll give you an example of that by redefining your motivation. My driver's license was expiring, so I went to the motor vehicle, and it's all changed during the pandemic. There's nobody there, and you have to make an appointment, none of which I knew. Even though I'd been on their website that morning, it didn't say anything about appointments. So when I went into the motor vehicle, I'm expecting to walk out with my driver's license, but that wasn't the case. I had to stand in line, fill out some forms, and they said, we'll get hold of you next week. And I said, but my driver's license will be expired by then. And she just gave me that look like, oh, get over yourself. And okay, so I walked out, and I wasn't feeling very positive after that interaction. And I realized that what is my motivation? Because my attitude just changed from the time I walked in there and when I walked out. I had a whole different attitude about things. So I had to pull over and just get a grip, and once again started breathing and connected with my lower belly, and to define what my attitude was. And once I got connected to my body, I realized that I was afraid I would not pass the vision test to get my driver's license. And I was really anxious. I just wanted to get this over with. But my motivation was fear. And in that moment, I realized, oh, I'm operating from fear-based, and I'm not getting very good results because of my attitude. I'm telling the chemist in my brains to give me the chemicals needed to fit my negative attitude that I was having. And so once I discovered the source of it, which is I was operating out of fear rather than operating out of love, I reinterpreted that attitude to become positive. Once I did that, I felt a change in the chemistry of my body. And I immediately felt better by reinterpreting my reality in that moment. And my motivation was no longer fear. My motivation was excitement. And this is one thing I tell clients, always flip fear into excitement, because, you know, when you were a kid and you were excited, you were going to go do something, you weren't fearful. You just went ahead and did it. Yeah, you had a good time. You had your buddies and, you know, let's go play ball. I don't know how to play ball, but you're all excited. So you don't even, you know, fear doesn't even enter the picture. So I got excited about wanting to pass my vision test. When I did that, I felt I was a different person. So the changing of the attitude is flipping a switch in your mind. Years ago, I lived on an ashram, and we had a teacher, Ramurti Mishra, and he would always come up to me, and he would just say, flip the switch in your mind. It's just like a television. Turn to a different channel. I had no idea what he was talking about. Well, he was talking about, you know, the vibrations and the frequencies through which we operate, and um, to, you know, look at it differently, or to use that, you know, um, there's a statement: when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that was actually said by Max Planck, who was a physicist, and was popularized by Wayne Dyer. And but that is really true, because that's what I did in the car when I changed my attitude by redefining my motivation. The way I was looking at it, I changed the way I looked at it, and suddenly, when I looked at it differently, I felt different. This is a doable skill. It's a learned skill. Now, how I've done most of everything that I've done is that I'm interested in learning, but really I'm very curious, and I've always been very curious. And curiosity is another one of those software programs that we get when we're born into the human body. I have three grandsons, and they're incredibly curious. You know, they don't come over my house much because we're all social distancing. But I had a number of old cell phones here, and they came over, and I gave them the cell phones, and I said, "Here, play with the phones," you know. And so pretty soon they're doing different things with them, and we charged the battery up, and they were playing different games. But I love their curiosity, and I love the fact that they were so engrossed in this tiny piece of equipment that could do all these miraculous things. And but all they could do with them was play the games. There was no connection to phone line or anything. But they were at that moment embracing new learning. But they wouldn't call it that. They were just having fun, because that's what new learning is, and that's what curiosity is. It's a fun where you start to do something because you're so curious about it, and pretty soon it's midnight, and you should have been in bed at 10 o'clock. But because you got so engrossed in what you were doing, you forgot and lost track of time. Curiosity doesn't have a time zone. When you're in curiosity, you kind of leave the time and space continuum for a moment, and you enter into this other reality, this other phenomenon of being very actively engaged and having a lot of different ideas or pictures come up in your mind. As we go older, the tendency is it's harder to learn. You know the expression, you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Well, I don't believe that. You know, that dog just doesn't want to learn any new tricks. You know, if we want to continue learning, we can learn. And you know, I have friends my age that I grew up with, and they're dinosaurs. I love them, but they've given up any kind of new learning, and they have no curiosity, and they're turning to stone as we speak. And so embracing the new learning through enhanced curiosity is really essential to developing new skills, which we have to be adaptable. Now, I'm a big fan of Bruce Lee. And one of the reasons I am is that he has something called pliable adaptability. And what that meant in his world, in the martial arts world, is that he could be attacking, and he could be on the offense and defense at the same exact time, because he, like bamboo, could be very, very pliable in the moment and just move with what is. That meant he was very present, because you can't do that unless you're in your body. And once again, the body is key to all the work that I do. To be adaptable, you have to be able to manage your breathing and be curious, but you have to move and accept with what is. The statement I use for it, accept what is with love in your heart. Now, you can resist what is, and I'm certainly skilled at that also, I did that for many years, and it doesn't produce any good favorable results. It just keeps you stuck for a longer period of time. So accepting what is part of curiosity. What's going to happen? I'm curious about this. I can either be afraid of what's going to happen or I can be excited about what's going to happen. My curiosity doesn't care because there's no fear in curiosity. To be adaptable, you have to be able to be like what Bruce Lee was talking about, uh, be able to, live the paradox. So here's a paradox statement. Act as if everything matters, be as if nothing matters. Well, how do you do that? Because they're two different things. One is being and one is doing. How do you do that? Well, the way you do that is you stay connected with your breathing and you stay present with your breathing. And then you can move and be proactive and make the phone calls you need or do whatever you need to do, while at the same time, you can still be in a state of being. And I call that, if you be while you do, your doing will be being. Now, this was taught to me by my Japanese master because all she did was she was just being all the time. She kept telling me I'm a human being. And this is what she would tell me personally. And then she'd put her finger on my nose and giggle. And initially it used to, kind of irritate me. And then I realized the wisdom that she had and how does she do that? How can she live the paradox? How can she act as if everything is important and be as if nothing is important? She could accept what is because she was highly adaptable and she was always in a state of being while she was running a very successful practice and traveling the world teaching her system of health. So I learned from her what it looked like. She never told me what it was. I always used to tell her, you're the teacher who doesn't teach. You just model to me. And then she'd giggle and put her finger on my nose. And she just said, keep watching. And I did. And I observed her behavior for 12 years until I realized the gift that she had given me. And where rather than me having to talk about it, I could just live it. Now, right now, I'm articulating it in a way that she never did. She never articulated anything. I just had to watch her. It was very similar to the Native American elders who mentored me, who didn't speak English. I just had to watch what they did, and after a while, just kind of it would come to me what I needed to do. But if someone doesn't speak the English language and they're giving you instructions, you're going to have to pay attention in a brand new way because the verbal part of it is not available. Once again, I was embracing new learning with my teacher. I was embracing new learning with the Native American elders who took me under their wing. And I was embracing new learning with the woman shaman who finally opened up the door to be able to teach me what I needed to know to survive and to be adaptable. And now the fourth step is out of what I've been talking about is acquiring new skills. It is essential to acquire new skills to be adaptable during this time that we're going through. And the time that we're going through with the pandemic is not over. And I don't think it's going to be over very soon. This is going to go on for a while. And at some point, we will be out of it. We're not there today. But in order to live with this in a way where you don't feel like you're in limbo and you're not living in a state of fear, you have to have the skill set in order to navigate through this in a good way. The acquiring of new skills is something that I'm interested in. I like doing things that I don't know about. I like doing talks where I've never talked about a subject. Once I learn something, I'm on to the next thing. It's like I'm a little kid who got bored with that toy. Now I want another one that's more exciting. So The acquiring of new skills is essential. But here's the question. Do you want to do any of this? Do you want to acquire new skills? Do you want to embrace new learning? Do you want to change your attitude? You know, and do you want to be intentional in your breathing? Because as I tell my clients, you don't have to do any of this. It's really up to you, because this is your own individual journey through this lifetime. How do you want to be with that journey? How do you want to navigate through that journey? Because we are at choice and we are driving the car. Now, for many years, I wasn't driving my own car because I wasn't conscious. I was unaware. You know, I mean, of course, I was leading my own life, but I had no idea what I was doing. It's like, you know, I was in the back seat of my own car and struggling and suffering and just having a difficult time of it. So do we want to do this? That's the question. And that's what I ask my clients. Do you want to do this? Because at this point in life, in my practice, I pick and choose who I want to work with. And if somebody doesn't want to do this, I have no problem with that. I just can't assist you on your journey. I can't be your guide because you're not committed to doing this. If you're committed, I am a willing partner. But do you want to do it? And are you hungry for this? It's the same way with healing and addiction. You know, how serious are you about the addiction? And addiction, they say you have to bottom out, which is when you get real about it, because at that bottom, you realize that you have lost complete control over whatever your addiction is, and that your addiction owns you. You do not own the addiction. So you have to acquire new skills at that time. And at some point, we have to acquire new skills. For years, I used a flip phone, and my son kept telling me, "Dad, get a smartphone." You know, I said, "No, I don't want that." Well, here I am being resistant, you know, not wanting to acquire a new skill. I have to learn about a new phone. He said, "If you get the phone, you'll never, you'll wonder how you ever live without it." And so I thought about that. And so, you know, I went to Houston a couple of days after our conversation. On the way back, I'm sitting next to a guy who works at the University of Arizona here in Tucson, and he's in the IT department, and he's on his smartphone. And so I'm asking him questions about his phone. And I told him what my son said, that, you know, I really need to get current, and I wonder how I ever live without it. And the guy just looked at me in the eye. He said, "Your son is right." He said, "Get over yourself." I started laughing. I thought, this is great. Okay, I got a smartphone, and I got past my resistance. And that's the biggest thing we have to deal with in life and with new learning is our resistance. Now, you probably heard the statement, "What you resist persists." And that is so true. It doesn't go away. You want to keep resisting it? Great. It's not going to go away. It'll be there until you can, you know, maybe deny it away or bury it away or whatever. But it's useless to resist. Or in Star Trek, there used to be this set of characters called the Borg, and they'd always say resistance is futile. And they say it in such a way that there was a lot of power behind that, and there was no way you're probably going to resist the Borg because they're going to take you over. Well, the Borg were the bad guys, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about transforming how you think, transforming the energy in your mind, which is free, into something that's going to work for you. I'm a very pragmatic guy. I like things that work. And once I find the things that work, I practice them and I get highly skilled at them. And then I teach them. So once again, what is the motivation? Are you motivated to learn? Are you motivated to breathe? Are you motivated to be curious if you're not curious? And are you motivated to acquire new skills? Because it's only through the acquirement of new skills that we step up to a different level and are able to have a different interpretation of ourself as a human being in this lifetime. And it's through the acquiring of new skills, especially based around consciousness, where we can see ourselves and observe ourselves in a mindful way to be able to have an accurate assessment of who we are. And this isn't about our ego or patting ourselves on the back and saying, giving ourselves kudos and, oh, you're doing really good and all that. This has nothing to do with the ego. This has to do with the egoless part of our personality, the egoless part of our being, where we step aside and allow this other energy, this other reality to come out of us. And that is what acquiring new skills has taught me. I have to get out of my own way. Now, that doesn't mean I don't get in my own way, and it doesn't mean I don't resist, but because I have the skill set, I am able to navigate through that resistance very quickly, just like the example of me in the car and changing my interpretation about, my driver's license and my fear around not being able to pass the vision test. It's in this stage of life in elderhood where we have the time, the experience, and the wisdom to be able to move to a new level. And at the same time, as elders and crones, do we want to move to a new level? Do we want to live out of our better self? Or as the Indians say, do you want to live in a good way with Mother? Because when you live in a good way with Mother, I'm talking about Mother and Mother Earth. I'm talking about Mother where we all came from. None of us would be here without Mother. We owe all of it to her. Now, Father's protecting the sky and the galaxies and the stars and all of those things. But Mother, we walk on Mother every day. And if we're open, we can receive the blessings of Mother every day. This is the acquiring of a new skill, the ability to interact with Mother. Because when you acquire new skills, especially those related to consciousness, you are now in touch with the larger picture. The picture where everything is interconnected at all times, whether we know it, whether we believe it, or whether we even feel it. It is just happening. All of us here today are from different parts of the country. We're not in a room together at a conference the way we would normally have our meetings. But that doesn't mean we still aren't connected to one another. And I understand what Bruce was doing when he opened it up to connect all of us. And we really are all connected, even if I'm looking at my screen. And the reason I'm connected is I'm going to go back to what my shaman teacher told me, that the Adaptability, or that point, that power point, is connected to every living being on the planet. So for me, giving this presentation, I'm not alone in the room, which used to be the stable for the horses many, many years ago. I'm in contact with my brothers and sisters, but I'm really in contact with Mother. And receive the blessings of Mother and receive the blessings of Father. And this all has to do with acquiring new skills, because when you acquire new skills, you acquire a new way of looking at the world, and you acquire a new way of seeing yourself in that new world. When the pandemic is over, we're going to be in a new world. It'll still be the same. A lot of things will be the same, but there's going to be things that are going to be completely different and not going to be available anymore. So this is the first breakout question, and we're going to move to a breakout, and Bruce Anderson will facilitate this. In what ways are you adapting while coming from a negative mindset? Well, this was the example I used earlier with me at the motor vehicle. I was a negative mindset, and I was having a very difficult time adapting to it, but I could have adapted to it, but I would have been moaning and groaning all the way. And, when I get home, I would be maybe talking to somebody on the phone. And can you believe what happened when I went down to the motor vehicle place? They're only having appointments. This pandemic, it's really upsetting my life. I got to get out of my comfort zone, and I don't feel good when I get out of my comfort zone. I'm very uncomfortable, and I just keep complaining, and we've all known that. And I used to have a sign in my room, no whining allowed. And actually, I loaned it to a friend, and he never returned it. But it was okay. I still love him. And so the first question that you want to go to is, in what ways are you adapting while coming from a negative mindset? And number two is the question, in what ways are you adapting while coming from a positive mindset? Now, this may seem like a no-brainer. Well, I know what negative is, and I know what positive is, but my interest here is how can you live this? How can you put this in real time into your life? And I call this kind of transforming into trenches, because sometimes our life is very difficult, and with especially what's going on in the world, and there's a lot of things I don't have control over. That doesn't mean I have to abdicate a positive mindset, but at times I do. And so this is a way, these questions are for you to calibrate where you're at, because we all get negative and we all can be positive. And so I'm going to leave you with that.
Okay, Luis.
Okay. How to activate happiness chemicals. Okay, I spoke earlier about the chemist in our brain, which gives us the chemicals according to whatever directives we give ourselves. So if we wake up and we say, wow, it's an amazing day, I'm going to have an amazing day, then the chemist gives us those chemicals to align with those words. If we wake up and say, oh, it's going to be miserable, or it's miserable outside, then the chemist gives us the words to align with that. And so I've been a active proponent of languaging to myself in a way that gives me chemicals that make me feel good. So I go around feeling better than feeling worse. And so I've got a list of the 4 chemicals that are necessary, and there's something that I practice every day. So for oxytocin, the love hormone, that has to do with hugging, that has to do with affection, it has to do with giving compliments. Now, in this time of the pandemic, we can't hug our brothers or our sisters unless they're in your bubble. If they're in your bubble and, your spouse, your partner, maybe roommates, things like that, you can do that. So if you're living by yourself and there's nobody to hug and you don't have an animal, go out and hug a tree. And I really mean that, because the tree is connected to mother, and anything connected to mother is alive at all times. And so hugging a tree, hugging an animal will produce this, and affection, anything having to do with loving. That's why giving compliments, giving loving compliments, also exhibiting loving kindness in the form of, maybe on social media, and how you, language to other people. So let's go with this one. Okay, laugh, exercise, and eat dark chocolate for endorphin, the painkiller. Well, I laugh a lot, and even when I'm with myself, I laugh a lot, and I've always enjoyed that, talking to friends. I usually call people during the week just to check in on them, brothers in Houston, and friends of mine here in Tucson. in order for us to maybe share a laugh. And I think it's so important, the laughter part, because even though everything is going on around us that we don't have a lot of control over, it doesn't mean we can't laugh. And so that's an important component of something that has to happen every day. You know, when I watch movies, I'm always looking for comedies because I need those chemicals because I'm living alone. You know, I have a partner and we see each other a couple times a week, but you know, I don't see my grandchildren or my family, even though we all live within 1 block of one another. Um, it's not available, and the reason is that there's 4 elders in a square block in my family, and I'm the healthiest one of all of them. And so we have chosen as a family for me to stay out of their bubble in case anything happens and they get sick. Then I would be the one to go buy groceries or make food or something like that. So I'm the point person in this particular family. So I don't get to spend time with them. Yeah, but it doesn't mean I can't stop laughing. Now the exercise part, I get up every day and I take long walks. I do Qigong while I'm walking. I do active Qigong, energy exercises. So that is something I'll do even if I don't feel well. It's just a given that I'm going to get out and go walk and, you know, wave to the neighbors and, you know, see how people are doing. And I live in the barrio, you know, Barrio de San Antonio. It's a small barrio and everybody kind of knows everybody. And it was a barrio that was built for all the railroad workers at the turn of the century.
Oh, popsicle.
So this is where I do my exercise. I walk through the neighborhood. There's a walking path across the street. I also exercise within my house. I'll walk around. I'll walk around the yard, kind of like a hamster in a cage, you know. As far as eating dark chocolate, I really love chocolate, but I try and not give myself a whole lot of it. And because I do have addictive tendencies, and so I need to be careful about what I want to get addicted around. Exercise is a good thing to get addicted around. Laughing is a good thing to get addicted to. There I go. I'm off laughing. Okay, serotonin. I feel that's the mood stabilizer. It's just you know, we want to be stable. We want to be balanced. We don't want to go through our life where we're always looking for, man, I need a drink, you know, and I need a break, and I can't go to the ocean or I can't travel right now, and I'm home. So meditate, pray, walk into nature. Well, meditating is easy. I do that every day. I pray. I actually pray in the shower because in my tradition, in the indigenous tradition, water is alive. Water is a living entity, and you can communicate with the water. And what that looks like in real time, as you're taking a shower, you are talking to the water and telling that water to remove any negative energy out of your energy field. And so I pray in the bathroom, and I'm saying my prayer, but I'm really praying into the water that is coming over me. And that water is amplifying that prayer in my energy field and making me feel better, stronger, boosting my immune system. And it is a wonderful way to have communion with the living entity that is available for all of us. And so praying in the shower or having silence in the shower where I don't pray, where I'm meditating, I'm just feeling the water on my skin and using a shower as a meditation. There's all different kinds of meditations. There's walking meditations, there's sitting meditations, there's all kinds of different techniques for meditating. And a lot of times when I don't feel like praying, I'll just meditate in the water and develop a sense of well-being, which stabilizes my mood. That's the whole thing. The outcome is to stabilize your mood. Walking in nature, that's pretty easy out here in Tucson, Arizona. Tucson has mountain ranges on 3 sides. So you can always go take a ride You can always walk in nature. There, you don't need a mask out there. And there's a lot of walking trails out here. Unfortunately for the summer, I haven't been able to do that much because it's been the hottest summer on record in Tucson, Arizona. July and August was over 100 every day. So that walking is going to start happening now that the cool weather has finally arrived in Tucson, where I'll be hiking on a daily basis somewhere in one of the mountain ranges around town. Sitting in the sun, yes, now's the time to start doing that. In the summertime, it's too hot to sit in the sun. You just cannot do it. It'll just boil like an egg. And but sitting in the sun is great for balancing your mood. And for the next one, dopamine, the reward chemical, complete a task, care for yourself, celebrate little wins. So what I do is I have a call to action every day. I complete a task every day. It could be cleaning the room or, building a shed in the backyard. I live in a barrio. I've been here for 10 years. I didn't have a washer and dryer. I've been going to laundromats and, different people's homes. And so, one of the things I did to complete a task for myself is that I built a platform. I set up a washer and dryer out in the backyard, put a canopy over it. And now I don't have to run around to get my clothes clean. I can just go to the backyard. That's a task. Care for yourself. Self-care is critical. You have to care for yourself. If you don't care for yourself, then you have nothing to give other people. When I first met my Japanese master, she mentioned to me, she said, you're last in line. And I said, what do you mean I'm last in line? She said, because you take care of everybody before you take care of yourself. And I said, well, that's what you're supposed to do. And she said, who told you that? I said, my mother told me that. She said, well, your mother was wrong. She just said it in a very dismissing tone of like, I don't want to have nothing to do with that. And I really thought about that. And then I realized she was absolutely right, that I don't take care of myself. And then I was just giving myself away. No wonder I was always so exhausted at times. So taking care of yourself is critical, and it is dopamine reward. Okay, I have a message from Bruce that we're going to go into another breakout. If Bruce, you could bring up the questions for that breakout. They're very simple. What skills are you learning? What new skills have you learned since the pandemic came on board? How are you being creative? Because look, we have a big problem going on, and we have problems in our life. Everybody does. But the key and the solution to any problem is to get creative. And so here we have, I have this statement here in front of me, which I'm going to end with. Life isn't about waiting for the storms to happen. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. This is by Vivian Green. I love this quote because, we have to dance in the rain. There's no way around it. And we have to be able to dance even if it's not raining. Dance in your home, dance in your rooms. Okay, the questions are, what new skills are you learning? How are you being creative at this time in your life? And we'll see you in a bit.
Final comments.
Okay, the final comment is once again to take care of yourself, especially during this time. To, if you have a garden, work out in the garden. I know I see those wonderful pictures from Frank up there in Canada about his garden and flowers, and it's always, it's all, I know he's taking care of himself when you see things like that. And I would tell you to dance. If you can't dance physically, then close your eyes and dance in your mind so you create the chemicals within your body that would be the same as if you were actually dancing physically. That's the key to visualization. And once again, honor yourself, honor mother, honor father, and commit to living a good life in a good way. I thank you, man. It's been wonderful to see you all again.
Thank you, Luis. I enjoyed it.
Luis, you guys, as usual, you were absolutely magnificent. Luis has done the presentation of the Men's Cafe at least a half a dozen times, and he's always hit a home run. I really appreciate it. I want to announce the next meeting. It's on the second Saturday of the month in October, and we're going to have Ken Roseboom, who is one of our stellar Men's Cafe presenters, who will talk about being alive. I mean, how, you know, in the midst of the pandemic, how can we be more alive and more invigorated and live with joie de vivre? Right, Ken?
How alive do you feel?
That's right, absolutely. So we're looking forward to Ken's presentation in October, and then November, to replace the fall gathering, which we're not doing. We're going to have a special outside speaker, Michael Winter, who is a teacher and who counsels at Rice University and at the Young Center, and we're all looking forward to that.